Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to click on this video. I appreciate you. If you're new, my name is Neil, and I like jerseys, logos, branding, anything to do with NHL appearance, aesthetics, stuff like that. I came across this interesting placemat in my parents' basement when I was visiting them last weekend, and it's from a really interesting period of time. But I noticed that there was no year on it. Like, there's a Montreal Canadiens symbol on the back because I was a Canadiens fan back then. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But there's no year on it. So I had to go through a process of elimination to try and figure out what specific season or year or years this is from. And we've narrowed it down. Okay, I did post this on Twitter. There's lots of guesses on Twitter, but I want to walk you through the process of elimination endeavor or adventure with this, because it's not as simple as it may appear. I'll hold this up on the screen so you can get a kind of a better look at it. But what I'm actually going to do is bring this up on my iPad, and we're going to go through this one step at a time to determine what year or what season specifically that this is. Some of you already know. Some of you have already done it in your head, the process of elimination. But we're going to go through it together and learn something, maybe. So let's do it. Let's bring up the iPad, and let's go through this one at a time. All right, so I think the first logical thing we can do is probably knock off the logos that really haven't changed. So we can look at the Oilers. Let's cross those off, color those out. Boston as well. That logo hasn't really changed. Buffalo is another one that we can kind of cross off. What else do we have here? New York, we can get rid of New York. Okay, what else? Philadelphia, we can probably get rid of. Calgary, we can also cross off. Chicago's not going to help us. Detroit's not going to help us. New Jersey is also not going to help us. And neither are the Montreal Canadiens. So none of those teams are going to help us at all kind of determine this year based on the other logos. Now we kind of have to go through and kind of get rid of some of the other ones. Let's start off with San Jose. So clearly that's not the current San Jose logo, and they've actually used that since their first inaugural season in 1991 all the way up to 2007. Now there was one variation change in the logo, but that was the general timeline from 1991 to 2007. So that's kind of our baseline right now. So let's change our color actually to red. So let's write 91 to 07. That right now is our timeline. Okay, let's move on to St. Louis, which is right next door. Now, St. Louis used this logo from 1987 to 1998. There was a variation change where in the first 2 years, the red stroke around the outside was a little bit more aggressive and thick, but up to 1998. So that kind of eliminates San Jose actually a little bit. So let's kind of cross off San Jose and let's transition to 87 to 98. That's probably a better era for us to kind of go through. All right, so let's actually look at the Tampa Bay Lightning next. Their inaugural season was 1992-1993. And they used this logo or a variation of it up until 2007. So let's just put, 2007 is way too late, so let's just put 93 next to Tampa Bay. I guess technically it was 1992, 1993. All right, let's skip up to Ottawa, and actually, ironically, they also started in 1992-93, and they've used a variation of that logo until 2007. So let's put 92-07. So we're still, that didn't really help us that much. We need to look at some other logos. Okay, well, how about Florida? Their inaugural season was 1993-1994, and they used a variation of this logo up until 2016. So that's way too late, but let's write down the 1993-1994. 93, 94. That's kind of the earliest season that this could possibly be so far, because the St. Louis one predates it, and the Tampa Bay Lightning one predates it. So let's actually cross those off. Let's cross off Tampa Bay, let's cross off Tampa Bay Lightning, and let's cross off Ottawa too, actually. Because I think the Florida Panthers year of the 1993-94 will give us a better picture. Moving up to Anaheim, their inaugural season was 1993-94, and they used that logo up until 2006. So same year, 1993-94, we'll keep that up there for Anaheim. So the left side is getting a little bit busy at the moment. Let's skip over to the right side. Let's tackle the Dallas Stars. So the Dallas Stars technically started, their first year was 1993-1994, and they used a variation of this logo up until 2013. So let's put 93-94. Okay, we're kind of onto something here a little bit. We're in the kind of the right range at least. So let's move on to the LA Kings. What about them? And they used this logo from 1988 to 1998. So 88 till 98. Okay, that really kind of narrows things down a little bit. So we're between 1993 and 1998. That's kind of the era that we're in. that really helps, actually. Okay, let's skip down to Pittsburgh. So taking the Pittsburgh logo into consideration, they did use this starting in 1992 and stopped using it in 2002. So that actually doesn't help us at all. We can just cross Pittsburgh off because we've already done the process of elimination, and that information doesn't help us. Oh, what about Vancouver? Well, they started using that logo in 1978, actually, believe it or not, and stopped using it in 1997. Ooh, that actually helps us. That means we don't need the Kings anymore. Let's write down 97. So now we know that the earliest year is 1993 and the latest year is 1997. That actually really helps us. Now the Maple Leafs used that logo of kind of a variation from 1970 up until 2016. So that doesn't help us at all. We can cross off Toronto. Okay, so what about Colorado? Well, they actually came into play in 1995, 1996. That was their inaugural season after transitioning from the Quebec Nordiques. So 95, 96 is the earliest year that it could be. So we can cross off the Dallas Stars, we can cross off the Anaheim Ducks, and we can cross off the Florida Panthers. So now we know the earliest it could be is 1995 and the latest it could be is 1997. Okay, well, what about the Capitals logo? Well, they used this specific logo from 1995 to 1997. So that doesn't really help us. That's already information that we've narrowed down, so we can cross that one off. Let's get back over to the left and look at the Islanders, the fisherman logo, the iconic, controversial logo. When did they use this? Well, that was 1995 to 1997, so that actually doesn't help us at all. We already knew that date range, so let's cross off the Islanders. Now, the Hartford Whalers is an interesting one because they transitioned to be the Carolina Hurricanes, but if Hartford is still in here, the latest possible year this could be was 1997. Well, we already know that, so we can cross off the Hartford Whalers. The real key to this is the Winnipeg Jets. This is what really helps us narrow it down. And I guess you could have figured this out a couple of different ways, but this is the process of elimination that I did. So the Winnipeg Jets actually moved to become the Phoenix Coyotes, not the Arizona Coyotes, the Phoenix Coyotes. And their last season, the Winnipeg Jets, was 1995-1996. So let's write in 1995-96. So let's cross off Vancouver because that doesn't matter. So boom, we've narrowed it down to two teams, the Colorado Avalanche, 1995-96, which is their inaugural first season, and the Winnipeg Jets, their last season, 1995-1996. So in this year, or this season, was 1995-1996. And there you have it. We've narrowed it down to the final year. A fun process of elimination, actually. It's a really interesting era in hockey. This placemat could only exist for 1 year. Like this, all these logos could not exist in any other season. So this is 1995-1996, a true special year in the NHL history, which is really cool. Now, why do I have this? Well, I was a Montreal Canadiens fan, and more specifically a Patrick Roy fan. So in 1995-1996, my parents probably bought me this because, well, number one, Montreal Canadiens, and my dad's a Montreal Canadiens fan, but also because it was the first year of the Colorado Avalanche. And when Patrick Roy went to the Colorado Avalanche, I followed him. And I needed to follow Patrick Roy. I became a Colorado Avalanche fan and followed his career up until 2003 when he retired, and then went back to become a Montreal Canadiens fan because of Saku Koivu. Saku Koivu actually started playing in 1995-96, but he really became my overall favorite player of all time, even more than Patrick Roy eventually, when I went back to the Montreal Canadiens. So Patrick Roy is number 2, and Saku Koivu is number 1 favorite players of all time for me. So I'm very happy that I found this in the basement. I was a kid, right? I was in 1995, 1996. I was 9, turning 10. So I was pretty big into hockey at that point. I was playing hockey and stuff. So I just thought that was a really interesting thing to find, and I'm never going to throw it out. I'm always going to keep that because it's really, really cool. So if you did learn something, or if you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting the like button down below. And if you're new, hit the subscribe button as well, and let me know if you figured it out before I went through it. And there's other things like this we could probably do. I've got some other things that I found that we could maybe show off and stuff and try and figure out the year. But thanks for watching me, guys. I appreciate it. You taking the time out of your day to catch this video. Hope you're having a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Adios.